If Elon Musk lost his government contracts tomorrow, who takes over? That question isn't just interesting. It's terrifying for some, exciting for others, and potentially world-changing. Let's break this down contract by contract, because Elon's relationship with the US government isn't just about rockets. It's a network of defense, infrastructure, energy, and AI deals worth tens of billions. If those get cut, someone is waiting to pounce. Let's start with the biggest, SpaceX. SpaceX is the backbone of NASA's modern launch capabilities. It's transporting astronauts to the International Space Station. It's building Starship, the rocket NASA plans to use for the Moon and Mars. If SpaceX is out, you've got a few players. First, Blue Origin. Jeff Bezos has spent over $10 billion trying to catch up. They already have contracts with NASA and the Department of Defense, and they'd love nothing more than to take Musk's place as America's top space vendor. Then there's Northrop Grumman and Lockheed Martin, legacy aerospace giants with government trust and political clout. They've delivered for decades. If the government needs a safer alternative, these are the fallback guys. But replacing SpaceX's speed and cost efficiency? That's not easy. Next, Starlink. Starlink is quietly becoming essential infrastructure for both civilians and the military. Ukraine, for example, is using Starlink for battlefield comms. The Pentagon is investing in it. But if Starlink gets pulled, the door swings open. Amazon's Project Kuiper is the most obvious successor. They've got the funding, the launch partnerships, and the global ambition. If Musk stumbles, Bezos doesn't just catch up, he leapfrogs. Then there's Viasat and OneWeb, both already serving global broadband through satellite constellations. They may not have the same tech stack, but they're already working with governments and are seen as compliant, stable, and easier to control. Now, what about Tesla? Tesla isn't as directly tied to federal contracts as SpaceX, but it's still deeply embedded in the US economy, especially with EV credits, battery tech funding, and green energy infrastructure. If Musk burns his bridges, Ford and GM are already catching up. Ford's F-150 Lightning is a direct competitor to the Cybertruck in federal fleet deals. GM has government connections that go back generations. They don't need to win, they just need Tesla to slip. And then there's Rivian. Backed by Amazon, they already have contracts with the US Postal Service and government fleet projects. They're green, they're nimble, and they don't have Musk's political baggage. Don't forget BYD, the Chinese EV powerhouse. If US policy ever softens on imports, they could flood the market. That's a worst-case scenario for American competitors, but very real. Let's shift to Neuralink, Elon's brain-machine interface company. It's early stage, and it hasn't seen the same government contract activity as his other ventures. But the Department of Defense is very interested in brain-computer tech, especially for veterans, rehabilitation, and next-gen warfare. If Neuralink gets frozen out, look at Synchron, a direct Neuralink competitor that's already working with US regulators and DARPA. Also, DARPA's own research labs. They've been working on brain-computer interfaces for over a decade. If Neuralink's out, DARPA just goes back to their homegrown projects, quietly and with full government funding. Now to the Boring Company. The Boring Company has been trying to get contracts to build underground tunnels for city transportation, and they've had mixed success. If those federal or state-level transportation contracts are pulled, easy answer, Bechtel, AECOM, and Kiewit, the big dogs of infrastructure. They don't have the hype, but they have the lobbying power, the union relationships, and the workforce to take over in 30 days. The truth is, if Elon Musk's empire gets untangled from the US government, there are people, companies, entire industries that would love to slide into his lane. Some would do it cheaper, some would do it slower, some would bring more red tape, more compliance, and more lobbying. But they're already there, waiting in the shadows. Elon didn't build a monopoly. He exposed gaps, he moved faster, he iterated, he took risks no one else would. But those contracts, they're not guaranteed. If politics flip, if relationships sour, if regulation tightens, Musk's place at the government table could vanish, and someone else gets to feast. So the question isn't just if he loses his contracts. The question is who's already practicing for his spot? And are they ready to step in, not just to copy Elon, but to replace him? We're about to find out.